All right, here we go. Vedro versus FatalTJ. I don't remember this one, to be honest, but I think it was good. Dreadnought lead for Fatal, Oranguru for Vedro. Not two Pokemon that you see too often, especially the Oranguru. We'll see how it goes turn one. Rock Slide from Dreadnought does miss, and the Oranguru goes for low sweep, which is kind of weird. Oranguru normally more of a special attacker, and looks like goes for Miss Ball turn two, which does about as much damage as the super effective low sweep did. Cradily switch for Fatal, and Miss Ball again from Oranguru. You can see that Cradily is just very specially, well, it's defensive in general, but especially defensive as well. The Miss Ball doesn't do too much. Vedro tries out the low sweep damage because that is super effective versus Cradily. Not doing too much. And the Cradily also not doing too much. So a little bit of a wet noodle battle here as these two are going to switch out health. Oh, but the healing from Cradily. So that's kind of that. Once basically if you're Vedro right now, if you're playing as Vedro, as soon as that Cradily uses a healing move, you need to get out of there. We can already tell that the Miss Ball is not doing very much damage to the Cradily. The low sweep is not doing much damage to the Cradily. You need to be using something that's doing more than 50%, and Miss Ball and low sweep are not doing that. So it doesn't make sense for Vedro to stay in here, but he does decide to do that. Pollen Puff from the Cradily doing decent damage. There's the switch into Cloyster, which hopefully will be able to do at least half with its ice attack. There's the heal again from the Cradily. Freeze Dry. So that's more what I'm talking about. That's what we're looking for. That's half damage onto this Cradily. So this Cradily is not able to heal through the Cloyster. And so now FatalTJ is in the spot that he needs to make a change. Let's see, what attack was that? Can't actually see what that attack was from the Cloyster or from the Cradily, but it didn't do too much. Possible mistake from Vedro. He goes for Origin Pulse here, which is the water move. If he had gone for the Freeze Dry a second time, it very well might have killed. It's possible that Vedro was predicting a switch because of how obvious it would be to go for an ice move. So not necessarily a mistake. And the Origin Pulse does do good damage as well. And FatalTJ just goes for a Morning Sun again. There's that Freeze Dry going back to that attack that does do more damage. Morning Sun again. So FatalTJ is trying to heal through it, but he can't. He's not making any ground. He cannot heal through Freeze Dry from Cloyster. So he's just burning his healing moves. There we go. There's a switch into Manectric. It does take some decent damage from Freeze Dry, and it actually gets frozen, which is really unfortunate for FatalTJ there. Switch into Latios from Vedro. Does make sense to do that. You don't know when your opponent is going to get unfrozen. So it does make sense to make a switch because Cloyster is not going to be able to eat a hit from Manectric if it knows a special attack specifically. Switches into Latios and goes for Shadow Claw. Still frozen on the Manectric. Shadow Claw again. 1 health, still frozen. So that freeze, pretty lucky from Vedro and getting some nice value out of it. Miss Magius comes in from FatalTJ, goes for an Ominous Wind. Vedro does not want to take that super effective damage, goes into Crobat. Miss Magius is faster between the two. Both of them are very fast Pokemon and does get the boost with the Ominous Wind. Crobat goes for probably a flying type move. Doesn't do too much damage. Switches into Oranguru. Interesting to see. And that does work. It seems, at least this turn it did. Oranguru is Psychic Normal, and Normal does not get hit by Ghost. So there you go. Possibly could have been better to do that earlier. And then this Cradily comes in again. So Fatal has proven that his Cradily does beat Oranguru. So it's very easy for him to switch into Cradily there. And Vedro again trying to make it work, but it's just not enough damage. I think the Cradily is basically out of heals by now. It might have one more. And so maybe it's okay for Ved to stay in, but I personally think it could have been better to switch into Cloister once more, because this Oranguru is now almost dead, and the Oranguru would be nice to have for the Miss Magius. So Oranguru does go down. The Cradily is basically dead. Decides to finish it off with Dracovish, which is maybe a tiny bit dangerous because he is choosing to do it with Hydro Pump, which is 85% accurate, I believe. And if he missed, you know, it's free damage that possibly didn't need to happen. Could have been safer to go into Cloister to finish him off, but this does do the job as well. Haxorus comes in and will hit a dual chop, which will one-shot this Dracovish. So that's big value. Now the Cloister comes back in. Well, yeah, comes back in. Again, maybe it would have been better to have it in from the start so that Haxorus couldn't come in. I guess he didn't know that at the time, though. And then we do see a Bisharp switch in from FatalTJ to take that freeze dye damage, and it does take it quite well. But it gets frozen! Origin Pulse from the Cloister doing huge damage. Frozen still. Origin Pulse on the Dreadnought switch kills it. And Vedro doing huge damage with Cloister. But here's the Miss Magius, and this is a big turn. So again, if the Oranguru had been kept as a way of dealing with Miss Magius specifically, that's something that would have had a lot of value. But the Oranguru was sacked, and now Vedro has to take damage from this Miss Magius. He doesn't really want to take it on the Cloister because Cloister is very weak against special attacks, and that's exactly what happens here. Cloister just gets bopped by that Ominous Wind, and Latios comes in as Vedro's last Pokemon. Misses a headbutt, a Zen headbutt. That's actually a very important miss, as we'll see later. And I believe that was another Ominous Wind not showing up. Here's that Zen headbutt again, and so we can see that it does two-shot from the amount of health that Miss Magius had. So if he had hit the first one, this Miss Magius is already dead, but he missed the first one, and so it does make the difference of now the Latios loses to the Miss Magius, which is very unfortunate for Vedro. Latios coming in uses Psycho Boost, crazy strong attack, but it does lower the special attack of the user after using it. So now this Latios is not nearly as strong as it was before it used it. Haxorus comes in from FatalTJ. Psycho Boost again. You can see that would have done double damage if it was a fresh Latios, so it could have been a good play. I don't remember what Vedro's last Pokemon is, but it could have been a good play to switch out the Latios and then switch it back in so that it can Psycho Boost. Wouldn't have one shot anyway, so maybe it doesn't make a huge difference. And this Latios will go down to the Dual Chop. Crobat is his last Pokemon, and will hit with Low Sweep, not doing too much. Gets a crit, but the Haxorus has this pretty much in the bag. Actually went for some attack there that was not Dual Chop. I think it might have been Twister. Not sure what that was about, but it was enough, and that is a GG for FatalTJ. Pretty interesting battle there.